I want to thank all of you that took time last week to join us in Mears at Grace Adventures. It was kind of a new thing, of course, something we haven't done in a long time. Thought it would be kind of fun. I think we did have a little bit of fun, and I think the content from the feedback that I've received from many of you was pretty good. Again, lots of stuff to work on, lots of ideas out there. We didn't expect this to be a one-and-done thing, that this would be evolving and that we try to put into practice three of those things. And I'm hoping that you each, again, wrote down 3 things that you wanted to accomplish, and I'm hoping that you're keeping those top of mind as we move forward here. So I appreciate you guys all coming. I'm hoping you had fun. I know there was some war wounds from paintball, and if you haven't seen those, Kenny's got a picture floating around that's pretty ucky. He's Rambo. We're going to call Kenny Rambo from now on. And there's some pictures of Mike Schmidt on a horse and some others on a horse, which was really great. So it was really a fun deal. So I appreciate everybody taking the time. And for those of you that missed it, make sure we mark your calendars for the next time we do this, because I think they're worthwhile, a couple of days of worthwhile time. So let's talk about football, shall we? Today is, what is today? The 22nd. This is a little pregame show. And I wanted to kind of set the stage because at dinner at Golden Sands last week, it was hard to set the stage in a real meaningful manner. But the game actually won't begin until October 3rd, as we talked about earlier. But I kind of wanted to set the stage of why we're doing it, how this is going to work, set some expectations for you, so you kind of get a sense for where we're headed with this. So let me just switch my screens here for a second. So the question that I have is, why are we doing this? And you're going to see these items popping up on the screen, and it makes kind of perfect sense, and I'm hoping this PowerPoint doesn't go funky on me here, but number one we want to do is we want to network and collaborate. Oh, let me stop this PowerPoint. I got to stop this because it's going to go to the last screen and stay there. Hopefully it'll stay there. It's got a transition in here. So there's a lot of talent in this group. There's a lot of folks that have been with us 30, 40 years, 25 years. There's a lot of talent, a lot of experience throughout the state of Michigan. And it would be really great. Oh, shoot, I got to stop that. Sorry, you guys. It would be really good. I'm going to end the show and just put it on the screen here. Maybe I can stop this. Hang on just a second. Let me just stop this narration or this animation. I guess I don't know how. That's all right. We'll just leave it right there. So the Y slide, as you can see right there, it's network and collaborate. I want to take advantage of all of you, to be perfectly honest. I want to share with all of you. I want you to share amongst yourselves. I think there are things going on in our individual offices that would greatly benefit the office down the road or the office across the street. So I'm thinking this is an opportunity for us to network, for us to collaborate, for us to get together. Secondly, there's some ownership here. We've all chosen to take the leadership roles in our offices. And so I'm hoping that this game will actually empower us or emphasize our sense of ownership in our office. You own your P&L, I think is what Dave Colmer had talked about while we were in Grace Adventures. We've chosen to be in these leadership roles. We know the expectations, and if we don't know the expectations, let's get those things cleared up so that we can go and do the best job we possibly can. And we've heard you loud and clear, by the way, when it comes to metrics. We'll get into that in a little bit. But metrics, our next managers meeting is going to be a big question and answer, P&L, all the things that we probably all, again, have some of the same questions. So this is some ownership. We want you to take ownership of your office, the success of your office. Thirdly, we want to set the stage for 2017. This is really why we're doing this. We've made some incredible steps forward in Michigan over the last 2 or 3 years. 2016 is shaping up to be a very good year too. But there are still improvements that could be needed. There's still some things we could do better. There's still some things that we could work together as a team to accomplish. So I want to set the stage for 2017 for this Michigan group with all the talent and all the people that we have as resources to leverage all of these folks, all of you, to set the stage for 2017 to be even more exceptional than what we've had experienced in the past. The next is to achieve some office and personal goals. Because I think sometimes, again, as Dave talked about, and I'm piggybacking on some of Dave's concepts, what are the goals? What are your personal objectives? What are the office's objectives? What are we going to do as a team to accomplish all of those things? And again, I think there are some areas where we're really doing it well, and there's some areas where we could brush up or improve on that. So we want to achieve those goals, and I would like to see everybody green, for example, on the scorecard. I would like everybody to maximize their manager bonus, those types of things. And I think this game, again, could help set the stage for achieving some of those goals. And then lastly, it's probably not last because there's probably other whys amongst here too, but lastly is to have a little fun. Because I think if you put a little fun into some of the things that aren't so fun, then it's not so bad, and we can accomplish some things, and again have some laughs, enjoy as we go through this together. And then again with the end of the road here with a cruise for you and your significant other by Ken Schmidt, and I think it's probably going to be sometime in February, is a pretty cool. A worthwhile endeavor. If for nothing else, I mean, all these other things I think are the main deal, but at the very end of the day, then to be rewarded basically for doing our jobs, for taking the leadership role that we've chosen to be in and embrace it and do what it takes to achieve those goals and set the stage, and then to go on a fun cruise afterwards, I think is like the cherry on the top. So that's why we're doing it, trying to set the vision of why we're going down this road and why this is important. The next screen, as you can see, oh shoot, I did it again. I hit the wrong button. I'm going to stop it here. I'm going to go to the next screen. Our core values, and I think I might even escape out of here just to put it on the screen so it doesn't transition again. Everything that we do is framed around these core values, and I continue to emphasize these and keep this stuff all on the front of our radar screens. And so as we go through this game together, again, I want to emphasize our core values. And we're going to have to trust each other. We're going to have to collaborate with each other. We're going to have to get innovative. We're going to be focused on the consumer. And our consumer, in our case, guys and gals, is our agents. That's our customer. That's who we're focused on. We're focused on doing what we can do to enhance the office, enhance how we can serve them so they can go out into the marketplace and serve the actual consumer and client. And then business acumen. We're going to talk a lot about metrics over the next 12 weeks. We've really started that ball with Dave, and really, again, getting back to ownership. Do you own your metrics? Do you own your P&L? Are you calculating? Do you understand what those numbers mean and what the impacts of even small changes, the big impact that small change may have? So I want to keep those core values from the company, and then the Schmidt family with loyalty and initiative, a.k.a. hard work, because this is going to be hard work. This is not going to be a game where we're just going to have fun, and we're going to have to do some things where there's going to be work involved. You're going to have to lean on your administrative support teams to help us accomplish the things that need to be accomplished. Are we going to continue with a positive attitude with this? There's going to be some times when we're going through these weeks where it's just like a football game. There is going to be some downs, ups and downs. There's going to be some bad plays. There's going to be some problems. There's going to be maybe some injuries. There's going to be some of that kind of stuff. And are we going to continue looking for the goal line even through that adversity? And again, we're servant leaders. So we're doing this, again, in an effort to serve the folks that are in our offices so that they can serve the folks out in our communities. So I see all your questions. I will get to all these questions as we get through. So I'm going to just kind of go through my little spiel here, and then maybe some of these questions will be addressed as we talk. If not, we'll move on and get into questions here in a few minutes. So what to expect? I would be ready to be challenged, quite frankly. I think this is not going to be, hey, if you go and participate or just show up, you're going to get points. No, you're going to be challenged. There is going to be some participation. You're going to need to show up, but there's going to be some things that need to be done in order to achieve the points necessary. And again, your points, as we get into the rules here in a little bit, are one piece of the puzzle because all your points combine together. So you're going to be challenged in preparation. And no different than how we challenge our agents when we're challenging them to be ready for the marketplace. Are they prepared? Do they have the stuff? Is it at their ready? Those types of things. Is there a plan in place? How are you going to go about doing this? So we're going to challenge you in planning, especially as we exit 2016 and think about 2017. There will be a business plan for your office, and you're going to create that. This isn't Jason or Mike or Tom going to create this. We're going to be involved in those planning discussions, but what's that shape? What's 2017 look like? What's the route? What's the vision? How are we going to get there? What's the stops along the way, as Dave Palmer talked about when we were in Grace Adventures? There's going to be lots of challenging on execution. Things got to be done. We want things done. We just don't want to talk about them and throw these ideas. There's expectations that we're going to use these things and we're going to execute upon some of these things. We're going to make commitments to doing what's necessary. Then after we do some things, we want to evaluate it. We want to look at the numbers. We want to look at what works and what doesn't work. We want to analyze some of this stuff. Again, piggybacking on what Dave started in terms of your office space, your advertising markets, your training habits, the processes that you have in your office with your support teams, all of those types of things. And again, as we network together, there's going to be idea sharing. There's going to be things that we can do that might fit my office that may not fit another office, but together we can put together some best practices and continue pushing it, to use the Tom Grace term, push that peanut forward a little more. There's going to be a high level of accountability here, and I think that was a big theme in our discussions in Grace Adventures too. With, are we going to hold ourselves accountable? Because there is some honor system in this activity. This can't be your team captain or Jason or Tom or Mike or anybody else looking over your shoulder and ensuring you to do this. You have to be self-accountable. And I think that exercise we did with Tim, where if you stop and touch the ground and left your little safe base or that little blob of rubber that you were standing on, were you willing to raise your hand and say, you know what, I screwed up, let's start over? Or are we turning a blind eye? Those types of things. There's going to be some times when some of us are going to need kicks in the pants, and some of us are going to need pats on the back. So there will be a lot of peer-to-peer, I'm hoping, some rah-rah, some sharing, when somebody's having some difficulties, somebody there to pull them up and help them out. And there's going to be adversity, as I spoke about a little bit down the road. There's going to be times when we're acting as a team here. You're in 4 teams. There's going to be times where people aren't pulling their weight, and we collectively have to root together, no different than a football team or a baseball team, or in my case, the Budweiser Clydesdales. One Budweiser Clydesdale can't get that job done by itself. It takes a team, and that each of those team members, each of those horses has its own strength, its own job as part of the team. And it's our job together to put all that talent together to move that wagon forward. And again, to put all that talent together to drive down that football field towards the goal. And again, that's not going to be a path that's just going to be a cakewalk. There's going to be some adversity, and how we get through adversity and how we work through the complications, the obstacles. Well, I have this challenge in my office, so I can't do that. Well, let's think out of the box. Let's think, how can we overcome some of those? How can we get creative? And that's where I think this group, with all the talent that surrounds it, can be a really big asset for some of us to overcome some of our personal, or what shall I say, localized obstacles or challenges or adversity. So that's what to expect as we go through the next 12 weeks. This isn't a cakewalk. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can almost promise you that. But I think there's going to be a lot accomplished in 12 weeks, and I think we'll all be for the better, and I think we will accomplish some of those goals. We will set the stage, and quite frankly, I think we'll all be better leaders for our offices if we work together to pull on this rope. So with that said, I want to before I move on, I guess, let me just address these questions and make sure I haven't missed anything. So I see here from, good morning, this is listen only, or do we need to dial in? If you want me to unmute you, just again, if you want to add to the conversation, there's no problem with that. Just let me know. I won't unmute you unless you indicate that you want to be unmuted. What are the rules for not attending, showings, appointments, Gen Blue, etc.? Well, that's a good question, Paul, because Blue Sync expectations from the very beginning was 9:30 on Thursdays were for administrative assistants and managers to be on that call. And so showings and things, unless in an extreme case, I would hope that we could block that 15, 20-minute time to be on this call. Now, the 10 o'clock call I know was shifted afterwards because that thing that was delivered during Blue Sync was important, and we didn't want to distract from that. But again, participation is going to be a big deal, and accountability is going to be a big deal. We're asking for you to block the time to be in your huddles and the things that are coming down the road, to be there. It's a critical part. This game is not a elective, shall we say. We're asking managers to be engaged and to participate. I think that's the only way we accomplish some of these goals, is if we're all pulling on that rope. I am sharing. I love you, Paul Brooks. Thank you. I love you too, Paul Brooks. For all of you that didn't meet Paul Brooks in Grace Adventures, Daniela says, no, it's all about the cruise. Anything else that I've missed? Any other questions? I don't think so. Good deal? All right, well, let's get on to I've set kind of the stage for where we're headed with this. Let's get on. I'm going to exit the screen a little bit, and I'm going to put on our pregame show. So here we go. This is the Schmidt Bowl 2016, and for those of you that might be on that weren't in attendance, because there was a few folks that didn't attend at Grace Adventures, we have sorted the offices, your offices, into teams. And we've evaluated these teams where we think there's a very good mix. There's some big offices, there's some little offices. There is some big volume, there's some little volume. It's a kind of a mixed bag in each group, and we think it's very fairly done, and I think you're going to have some fun with those groups. So you'll notice your Team A, Team B, Team C, and Team D. Please remember the A, because if you look in the middle of the page, the season schedule that begins the week of October 3rd, you are competing team on team. And so instead of me putting in your individual team names into the season schedule, we're going to just maintain the A, B, C, and D, although I'm going to refer to you as Schmidt Happens, or whatever your team name happens to be as we move forward. So there are the teams there, and you see our schedule starting the week of 10-3. For today, and today's instructions, which is to the right of our screen here, you have some tasks to be accomplished between now and 10-3. Some of you may have already jumped on that, and I think there was some of that collaboration happening actually at Grace Adventure, because we've created team names. And I said, if you guys want to change your name or think about that, you got to come up with a team name. Number 2, you got to come up with a team captain. And this could be one individual. It might be a couple of people. I don't care how you do it. But there needs to be a team captain, because this team captain is going to be a person who is going to have to do some of the reporting and bring some of the data back for scoring later on. So team captain is going to play a vital role, as in any team. There needs to be a team huddle. And this, again, is not an elective. This is your group, your team members need to come up with a day and time where you will huddle every week to collaborate, to share, to report on what accomplishments have been done in your office. Have you made your individual contribution? Have you done the things you needed to do? And then putting all of that together to report as the team's productivity or the team's accomplishments for the goal. So you as a team are going to need to come up with that day and that time, and it will be a weekly deal. So each week of the schedule, that week of 10-3, you'll need to put together a time where you will all phone in, webinar in, video in, whatever makes sense for your team, and we're leaving that up to you. If you need help on any of these fronts, if you need help getting set up for a webinar, if you need help working a video equipment or whatever the case may be, please reach out to myself, Carrie, or Judy. We will help you with the technology part to get your group together. Number 4 is team reporting. And team reporting is, as part of that huddle, you're going to, again, and maybe this huddle is a discussion, a work-on huddle. and maybe then the team captain reaches out to get scoring at a later time in the week. Again, we're leaving that up to your group to create how that works. But we are going to score, which is number 5, at 11 a.m. every Monday, beginning October 3rd. And what I mean by scoring is your team captain, and if your team may choose that every one of your team members wants to be part of that scoring webinar or video. Again, it won't be more than 10, 15, 20 minutes, maybe 30 at tops, where we're going to go and report in your productivity, your accomplishments as a team, and score the game. So A score versus B, and C versus D. And the scoring is points, as we'll get into in a moment. You're going to get points for certain activities that have been accomplished, and we add your points together as individuals to come up with your team score. And then if A score is greater than B score, A will be assigned a win, and B will be assigned a loss. And same with C and D. And as we move through the whole schedule, we're going to work towards the playoffs, which will be a season-ending standings of wins and losses into the playoffs that will start after Christmas. So at 11 a.m. every Monday, your team needs to be represented on this webinar, and it may be with myself, it may be with Mike, it may be with Tom, maybe with Carrie, maybe with Judy. It will be different folks potentially in the scoring conversation, and again, you can choose who those folks are for that scoring conversation. So to repeat, you need a name, you need a captain, you need a huddle, you need to figure out how you're going to gather the information to report it. And again, I do have a report sheet that you'll get on 10.3 that you can use, but quite frankly, there will be some things where you'll need to email copies of things and almost, I don't use the word proof, but one of the examples may be we want to see your career night presentation. We want you to send that career presentation via PDF to an email address, and all that we'll get into on 10.3. So that's how the game's going to go for the pregame for the next 10 days or so. You've got some time. That's why we didn't want to rush through this. You have some time to figure out some of the logistics that you as a team are going to need to accomplish. Any questions on that? I know we haven't got into points and things like that. We still have everybody? Carrie, can you still hear me? I haven't been talking to myself, right?
No, you're doing great.
Okay, good. If there are questions, again, if I'm not clear or if you want to add a suggestion too, you can certainly chime in at any time. Now, I'm not going to tell you today what you're going to earn points on for the week of 10-3, because as part of that game scoring conversation on 11 a.m. every Monday beginning October 3rd, you will be tasked with some focused areas to work on for the following week. So it's not going to be, here's a whole menu of stuff, and if you do any of this stuff, you're going to get the points associated with each one of those items. It's going to be more focused. There will be some items that will be week in and week out. For example, if you have an agent join your office, any week an agent joins your office and signs on that week, you'll get points in that week of play. But there will be some things that will be focused just for that week. The focus for some of these, and I'll just give you a little tidbit as this is, the points are going to be small points. We're not talking 7-point touchdowns here. We're talking things like attendance. If you're on your huddle, you'll get a point. If you're on the blue sync, you'll get a point. If you're on today's call, quite frankly, you're getting a point. For those of us that are on the call today, I'm scoring today's attendance as kind of our kickoff for week 1. You'll get a point. There will be some things that are larger in point scale. And again, we will give you the point scale each week based on the focused area of that week. So you'll get that on 10-3 to your captain, team captain, or whoever the person is in that conversation. And they will then communicate to the team, here's the playbook for the week, here's what we got to accomplish. So that's sort of how it's going to go. You're going to score the previous week, you're going to kind of get the playbook for the week to come, and then you as a team are going to have to figure out how you deliver that playbook to the entire team as part of your team huddle, and then again to report back at the end of the week for scoring of the week's progress. So points are all over the spectrum, from recruiting agents to just doing some things to actually participating. There's going to be some metric focus. There's going to be things that are going to deal with per person productivity. There's going to be some things that deal with occupancy of your office. There's going to be some things that have to do with profitability and hitting targets. All of those types of things that are on the scorecard, and then expanding upon some of that stuff that Dave Calmer expanded on in Grace Adventures last week. Now, with this all said, as we go through this isn't just us say going and doing this. There also is an element of training leadership development, because we want to continue Dave Calmer's down that path of doing some of these things and helping you, especially for some of us that might be new, some of us that haven't dove into some of these particulars, whether it be training and agent development, whether it be recruiting, whether it be the metrics and the P&L statements and things like that. We want to help you to understand, to accomplish these things. So, for example, in October, before we get into the metrics part of our game, we're going to have a workshop as part of our managers' meetings that will have Tom Gray and Mike Griffith in the room. And we will go over the P&L and what's in these line items, not in particular for one office, but in general, what's in here and what are we expecting, and getting some of those answers. You'll be challenged to actually do some calculations to find out what is your retained company dollar for the month of August, say, or year to date, say. I'm giving you just some examples here. And I'm going to ask you to calculate that. And most of us can have done that before. Maybe some of us, it's a new thing. So again, as a team, you'll be able to help each other out. And then we're going to bring those things back. So there'll be lots of this interaction between Tom Gray and others that to help us accomplish some of these goals. And again, there's probably gurus, there's probably experts, there's probably people on your team that have done this in the past, are doing it now, that can help get us all on the same plane so we all can achieve our points in each particular week. So there's a lot of points to be earned. Now, the last thing I have to say is this is a team effort again, and so as we talked about in Grace Adventures, the cruise is not everybody on the team gets to go if your team ends up winning at the end of the season and end of the playoff. You as an individual manager, I like the word leader, you as an individual leader in your office have to have a contribution to that team's success. And that contribution is going to be a minimum of 100 points individually over the 12 weeks. 100 points is a lot of points. 100 points when you get points of 1 and 2s at a piece is a lot of points. But when I did the math on a couple of occasions to just do some scenarios to see if this was a realistic number, because again, we want to set a goal here, but we don't want to make it so high that nobody can achieve it. It's a very achievable 100 points. It's no different than when we task our manager or our agents to go out there and have 250 face-to-face, ear-to-ear conversations with people in a month. Because if they do those 250 conversations, chances are they're going to get 4 or 5 appointments. And of those 4 or 5 appointments, chances are they're going to get a couple of contracts. And out of those contracts, chances are there's a closing or two. It's the same premise. There's some strength in the numbers, and yet we're probably doing some of the things already that you'll achieve some of these points merely because some of the things you're actually doing right now, and there's some significant points for some of the things that we want to do more of. So it's not a high bar, but it's not a low bar. I think it's a fair bar to reach. And so I think we're going to have some really fun games here. I think we're going to have some really good scores. There will be, again, some adversity. There will be winners and losers here. This isn't a trophy for everybody kind of a deal. We really wanted to make this competitive, but we also want to make this, like we said, the whys at the beginning, to accomplish some of the goals, the expectations, some ownership, all of those things that I talked about earlier on today. So with that said, I was about a half an hour. I'm long-winded. So for those of you that don't know me very well, typically I am long-winded. So Paul Brooks can attest to that. So if I say it's 15 minutes, typically it's probably longer than that because I end up yapping too long, and I've done it again today. But I appreciate your time. I know your time is valuable, and I know your efforts are valuable, and I am almost done with the new scorecard because P&Ls just came out, and there's some incredible things happening. Whereas we're really getting some traction in some areas and some great stuff. So I hope to have that for you first of the week by the time I have it all done. So keep up the good work. I thank you for going to the Grace Adventures retreat. I thank you for participating in this activity. I thank you for taking the time because I know it's time out of your schedules, away from your families, away from your businesses, when you got to take a half hour to be on a huddle or take an hour here to accomplish a task that we're asking to be accomplished. But I think at the end of the day, whether it's the end of 12 weeks or the end of 2016 or the end of 2017, this is going to be a great asset or tool, or it's just going to be a fun deal, I think, for all of us to go down, and I think we'll all be all the better for it. So with that said, I will stick around for a few questions. If there are any questions, or if you want to call me up, if you want to just call, please call me. By the way, you're going to get some text messages. Don't block me on your phone, but I've created a group on my phone, so if there's some communication, I might text the whole group of us as a Michigan team collectively at sometimes as reminders to things. And by the way, I didn't say this either, is I might chime in on some of your huddles, because I'm going to ask you on October 3rd what your team name is, who your captain is, when your huddle is, how you're going to report on October 3rd, because those dates I'm going to chime in on. Once in a while, I might get in on your webinar or video in or jump on your call. I might actually task maybe Carrie to do it. Maybe I'll ask Tom to do it at times. We would like to be an asset for you, so we want to chime in once in a while, or at least listen in to some of your activities. So October 3rd is a pretty big date to get all that information to us, so we can start scheduling and making sure we can plan accordingly also. Any questions?